All right. I'd like to call to order the March 23rd, 2022 Long Hill Township Committee meeting. Madam Clerk, can you read this statement, please?
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting, specifically the time, date, and public call and information were included in the meeting that was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel and posted on the Township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. Public comment period will be held in the order it is listed on the meeting agenda.
Thank you. Can we rise to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Committeeman Lavender?
Here.
Committeeman Ray?
Present.
Committeeman Berleza?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia?
Present.
Mayor Dorsey?
Here. All right. Let's start. We have the Girl Scouts here. I'll bring them up first. We have members of Long Hill Girl Scout Troop 96834. Ladies, I believe you want to make a presentation or ask a question.
Nancy, that's not it yet.
Come on up. Floor is yours. Wait till Megan hooks up the microphone, then you guys can feel free to get going.
Stand like a horseshoe. Like a horseshoe. All right, hold it. Here, straighten up. Straighten out, girls, so everybody can see. Give everybody space. We have plenty of room.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. McCormick, go ahead.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Town Council members, for inviting us here tonight. We are Long Hill Girl Scout Troop 96834. I am Sarah McCormick, and here with me is Justine Veracco and Sarah Rossi. We are the girls' troop leaders. Our troop has a total of about 12 fifth grade girls. And as a troop, we've been working on our outdoor journey this past year. And as a take action project from our journey, we chose to add birdhouses to the trails at Hicks Track. To give you a little background about the Girl Scout Outdoor Journey, it's a program where Girl Scouts explore the outdoors. They learn skills necessary for camping. They gain appreciation for nature and the animals that live in our community. We want to thank you for allowing us to place the birdhouses in Hicks Track and to share with you what we've learned through our journey and why we chose our project. So the girls are going to provide some more details, and first up is Charlie Johnstone.
Good evening. I'm Charlie Johnstone. Last fall, we attended Camp Brick-a-Bear and learned about the outdoors. While there, we learned to respect wildlife. When enjoying the outdoors where animals and plants live, we have to keep their homes the way we found it. It is also important to take your garbage It is also important to take your garbage with you and leave no trace behind. This lesson taught us to appreciate nature and want to do something for wildlife in our area. Thank you.
And now Kylie.
Hi, my name is Kylie Briggs. When I attended Camp Brick-a-Bear with my troop, we learned many important things about respecting nature. We learned how to set up a tent and how to build a campfire. We were able to toast s'mores on the fire. We also learned the importance of making sure the fire is completely extinguished before leaving the campsite. This is done to prevent the fire from spreading in the woods, which is home to all kinds of wildlife. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sofia Villegas. We chose to do the Birdhouse Project as our Take Action project because this was an idea we had after hiking at Camp Brick-a-Bear in the Great Swamp. We thought it would be fun and creative to decorate the birdhouses together as a fun activity. Also, the birdhouses could be very helpful to all the birds in our area as a nice habitat to protect them from predators. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marley Jablonski, and with the birdhouses we decorated, we are putting them in various locations around Hicks Track. Our troop is planning to do this coming Sunday since the weather has been nice lately. Lastly, we are going to hang the birdhouses from trees with rope and spray them with varnish. We are doing this so the birdhouses last longer. Thank you for your time.
on behalf of Troop 96843, we wish you a wonderful spring.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you, girl.
Thank you.
These are the birdhouses that you'll see in Hicks Track starting next week.
The third one in.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Next, we have the awards for the rec committee's various contests. Ms. Scanlon, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Okay, thank you guys for allowing me to present the prizes here for the meeting, or for the contest that we had. Mayor, though, you know, I hope you know that they're not here to meet me.
I got a face for radio. Nobody wants
It
a
was
picture
the
of me.
thrill of meeting you that they all came down
Oh,
here
I'm
for,
sure.
so I hope you'll help me.
Yeah.
All right. The first contest that we had was we did a snowman or snow sculpture contest, and we ran that from January 7th through March 6th. We didn't get a lot of snow this year. According to some, we probably got too much, and according to others, not nearly enough. However, we had enough that they did get out there and make some different snow sculptures. I don't think I have everybody here, but I do have some of the award winners here. Are you ready to key up? Okay. So the very first snow sculpture is called Nature's Place. It was built by Alexa Fox in Millington, who is 8 years old. And do we have that one? That's it. Perfect. Thank you. And I don't think Alexa's not here tonight, right? No. Okay. Next, I have the Jablonski family. Marley, who you just saw with their birdhouse, and her brother Joey, age 7, made a snowman named Moe. And I think you do have that one.
Maui.
See, there, that's Moe, right? You recognize him? Where's Marley? Where'd she go? Over there. All right. And last, we had the Hotra family with 4 children, Jordan, who's 12, Mason, who's 10, Maya, who's 7, and Kai, who's 3, made a snowman and dog sculpture, and it's called Walking the Dog. And if you look closely, you see the leash with the dog. So first, I'd like to ask the Jablonski family to come on up, and we have some prizes for you. Mayor, could you help me with these?
These are yours. Come on up, Joe.
All right. Let me grab. Right. This is their actual.
Oh.
And that's the 2 of them.
All right, so Nicole's going to take a picture of us with Miss Scanlon. So I'll hold up your thing. You two stand over here in front of us, and we'll take a picture. See, they want to see me, they run over to you. Great job, guys.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, you're there. You didn't take a picture with the Girl Scouts.
All right, if they want a picture with me, they can have it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You want to take a picture, right? Look, they all said yes.
They all said yes. Bring them up. Bring them up. Picture with the mayor.
At least they get to be in the back of the picture for once. So, Nicole, take a picture. I'll stand back here. I'll stand by the shorter kid. Shuffle around.
Okay, next up, from January 3rd through March 15th, we ran our first ever photography contest, and we received a lot of great entries. And one of the nice things about the photography contest was that we're building our supply of photographs all around town to help us with our calendar. So you probably see some of these photographs in our calendar next year. First up, we had honorable mention was Kennedy Strang. I don't think she's here tonight, though, but I have something for her. I have Danielle D'Amico, who took a beautiful picture of Long Hill Road in the snow. Do you have that? Yeah, that one. That was gorgeous. And Tony Simoes took a picture of a beautiful sunset at Clover Hill Development. Baleen Belfield took a picture of snow-covered trees. And no, I don't. She is not. So it's just the two. So if I could have Danielle and Tony come up. Yep. Perfect. Got it.
Danielle's a pro, though. That's the
Didn't say anything about that.
Never know.
Camera in there. It is. Paperweight for your desk.
Do it.
Thank you.
So I look forward to seeing them in the calendar. So great job. All right. All right. So we're done with the direct presentations.
Is it still on, Lisa?
All right. Well, you set the bar very high for next year's contest, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with for next year. All right, now we have the consent, oh, I have to wait for Megan, I guess. No. Oh, we don't? Oh, yes. We have I think the Board of, Watch on Hill's Board of Ed president is here somewhere. There he comes.
I have no idea.
Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Dorsey and members of the Long Hill Township Committee. Members of the public, my name is Bob Morrison. I am the president of Watch on Hill's Regional Board of Education. I'm also joined here by Long Hill Representative.
You're all right.
By Long Hill Representative Carol Prasa, and I'm from Warren Township. I've come before you this evening to report on the Watch on Hill's efforts to conduct a feasibility study regarding the expanded shared services up to and including consolidation and regionalization of our school districts. School district regionalization has been a reoccurring topic in our communities for more than 30 years. As this topic has come and gone over the years, there's always been various issues that precluded further investigation. The biggest among them was the structural barriers in state law and education code that made these conversations nothing more than futile exercises. All that changed with the passage of Bill 3448 that was signed into law by Governor Murphy on January 18th. The new law provides districts with incentives, i.e. funding, to study the idea of regionalization. The new law removed many of the barriers that had previously made discussions about regionalization just academic exercises. Starting in January of 2021, the Watchung Hills Regional High School began exploring the idea of applying for this funding even prior to the new law. And after nearly a year of conversations with our sending districts, doing research and presentation, we decided to submit a formal application to the Department of Community Affairs on February 17th, 2022. This evening, what I wanted to do is just share with you some of the highlights of that application. Basically, the Watchung Hills School Board is proposing a study to investigate the feasibility of combining the Watchung Hills Regional High School District together with the existing constituent districts in Warren, Watchung, Long Hill, and our sending receive district of Greenbrook. The district will also review other possible consolidation combinations, as well as looking at areas of shared services between the districts. There are 5 scenarios that we will be looking at as part of this study. The first scenario is status quo. Nothing happens, the districts remain as they are. The second scenario is that all of the districts will be joined in a K through 12 all-purpose regional school district. So all 5 districts would come into one single regional school district. The third option would be that Watchung Hills and our current constituent districts of Watchung, Long Hill, and Warren would create a single regional school district, and Greenbrook would enter into a send-receive for grades 9 through 12. The fourth option would be a variation of any combination of the districts working together. So say Long Hill, Warren, and Watchung Hills create a regional school district, and Watchung and Greenbrook would be in a send-receive for the high school grades. And then the fifth consideration is the status quo with significant shared services between the districts. Now, the objectives of the study are to explore the following areas. 1, educational impacts of the new configuration. 2, racial impacts of a new configuration to make sure that we do not create any racial inequities because of the new districts. The staffing impact, the financial impact on all the communities, the impact on buildings and facilities, the impact on the governance, as well as any legal considerations. The purpose of the study would be to conclude how to best provide the best educational services cost efficiently, and to save money and to improve the quality of our education programs. We have to improve the quality of education, and there has to be some cost savings in doing it. Moreover, it's important for the students from all of our local districts to be equally prepared for the high school programs so that our students can have equal opportunity to success. These are some of the highlights, but to be clear, I want to make a couple other points and then I'll answer any of your questions. The Watchung Hills Regional Board has not stated that we support regionalization. We have no position on whether or not regionalization is a good idea. We lack the information even to make such a consideration. That's the idea behind doing a feasibility study, to get the information to determine what may happen. And a feasibility study does not commit any of us to do anything other than look at the information, talk about it, and decide what may be the best pathway forward. As all of you know all too well, in our communities, 65% of our taxes go to education. And therefore, as the duly elected representatives of our communities, we have a responsibility, indeed an obligation, to explore all avenues that could lead to the improvement of education for our students, and to be good stewards of the hard-earned taxpayer dollars that we have the responsibility to manage. The only way to find out if there are benefits is to conduct a feasibility study. And if somebody else is willing to pay for it, and in this instance, that is the state to the tune of $140,000, I would argue it's our fiduciary obligation to pursue this opportunity on behalf of our citizens. And that's exactly what we are doing at the high school. So if you have any questions regarding the regionalization study, I'd be happy to answer them now.
I have two. What is a send receive? What's that mean?
A send receive is where they basically pay tuition to send their students to the high school. So currently, we actually have what we call 3 constituent districts along with the high school. So Watchung, Long Hill, and Warren are the constituent districts of Watchung Hills Regional. So we are the regional school district, at least for the 9 through 12 grades. Greenbrook is in a send-receive relationship, so they aren't part of the tax base. They pay a per pupil head or a per pupil fee for every student that they send up to the high school. So that is a send-receive relationship. So when we talk about a regional district with send-receive relationships, we would have some sort of constituent districts. And if not everyone is involved as being a constituent district, they could then maintain a send-receive, at least for grades 9 through 12.
And my last question is, you said it costs about $174,000?
$140,000.
For the study?
For this study.
And then who pays for that?
The state.
Okay, well, indirectly us, but the state, it's coming from the state money, it's not coming from the
The
taxpayers of the...
No, the state has put together a $10 million fund as incentives for school districts, municipalities, and other government agencies to explore ways of cost savings, shared services, and including consolidation and regionalization.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Go ahead.
You mentioned several different scenarios,
Yeah,
one of
5.
which you said Watchung would be a sending district. Why would Watchung be a sending district?
I was using that as an example of creating a scenario where not all of the districts would come together in a single district. So the example that I used was about Warren, hypothetically, Warren, Long Hill, and the high school become the K-12, and then Watchung and Greenbrook would be in the send-receive relationship.
And also in one of, and these are questions probably you may not even know the answers to just yet, so I don't want to put you on the spot. One of the scenarios of the 5 involved shared services. What's an example of a shared service? Is that a shared, maybe, employee?
Certainly, it could be a shared employee, it could be shared functions. Right now, the big topic amongst all of our districts is transportation and bus drivers, lack of bus drivers, coordination of transportation. There could be a situation where we could have a unified transportation system that would serve all of the districts. That would be a shared services. Another important one would be in special services, taking care of our special needs students, making sure that they are getting the quality of education that they deserve based on their circumstances.
Thank you. And by the way, I was smiling not because of something you were saying. Megan likes to point out when I'm doing something inefficiently. I had my mic.
Should be busier than that.
And my last one, and this is one I don't know that you can comment on. That's the purpose of the study.
Absolutely.
What's a racial inequity that could come out of a regionalization?
So I don't know that we would, I honestly don't believe that we would have that issue here, but in some of the other regions where they are doing similar studies or have looked at doing studies, that a regionalization would actually create haves and have-nots based on the way that they would configure the school district. And so one of the things that they're trying not to do is create more segregated school districts. And so they don't want to see a regionalization that would actually contribute to the segregation that exists in our state.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate it. I thank you very much for coming here this evening, by the way. I really appreciate the clear explanation that you have presented here as to the purpose of a regionalization study.
Look, we all have skin in the game. This impacts all of us. It impacts you. It impacts your constituents. It impacts the quality of education. And again, I don't know whether it's a good idea to do it or not. But someone else is going to pay for us to figure it out. I'm all for that.
So I have a question, and I get the financial part of it. I'm more interested in the quality of education part of it.
Sure.
And the fact that, when we look at schools in the area, not all of them have the same degree of finesse around things like art programs and music programs and sports programs and things like that. And, I will tell you, some of our kids go into the high school, and, some of the other towns have the advantages of like string quartets or whatever. We don't have that here in town. Are you going to be looking at how we can balance that and raise the richness of the program?
That is absolute. When we talk about educational quality, educational improvement, having a vertically articulated program across all of the communities where, in your example, the music and arts programs would be balanced out across the districts, where the opportunities for all students would be greater because we would be in a situation where we would have more resources. The same thing is true for athletics, but also in the academic areas. Remember, as a regional high school, and people always look at Watchung Hills and go, well, why don't you score as well as Milburn? Or why don't you score as well as Ridge or Montgomery? And the answer is, we're not a K-12 district. We're a 9 through 12 regional high school. When the students get to us, they're 3/4 baked, right? And every district has their own curriculum. Every district sending into us has their own way of articulating things. So if there was a unified vertical articulation and coordinated curriculum across the entire the entire regionalized district, there's a pretty strong indication that education quality would improve along with that. In addition to those other areas that you talked about, including arts programs, including athletic programs, including extracurricular activities.
Yeah. I mean, making the most of our money spent is obviously important, fiduciary responsibility, but you know, and this is something that for those of us who have kids who have gotten to high school, and we realize this by looking in the rearview mirror, that something like this could have had some value. Thank you.
Any other questions?
What do you need from, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, what do you need from us this evening, but Brendan.
I have one question. First of all, I applaud the board for undertaking this study. It's an idea that has been floated around for years, and now there's actually some concrete steps to determine if it is a good idea or not. So it's a wonderful thing that you're doing this. My questions are simply, whenever it comes to a timeline for the study, and then what happens after the study in terms of, you see that it's feasible for one or more of the scenarios. What happens then?
Sure. So the first question on the timeline. So we've submitted our application. We anticipate that we will hear sometime late April, early May, whether that application has been approved. We've been given every indication that it will be. Once that happens, we will then take about 30 days for us to identify the entity that will actually be overseeing the feasibility study, because there's a lot of different moving pieces that have to be coordinated. So we anticipate that we would actually start the process in late May, early June, with the goal of having some semblance of a report coming back to our Regionalization Feasibility Committee sometime in the mid-fall, with the idea of that the report would be made public before the end of the school year. So, or I'm sorry, the end of the calendar year, so that we would have a full report out before the end of the calendar year. At that point in time, everyone would get to see what are the recommendations of the report. You know, what are the positives, what are the negatives? Are there any benefits to considering a regionalization scenario? Then the districts will be able to discuss what options may make sense. To see, you know, do we want to do a full regionalization? Do we just want to focus on shared services? One thing to understand is any regionalization decision is not made by the boards. We don't have the power to do that. It will ultimately be made by the voters. The citizens themselves will have to vote on whether or not they want to be a part of a regionalized district. And at that point in time, you know, if the boards decide that that is the direction that they want to head in, then the voters would have their say, and then depending on the vote outcome, that would determine the direction of the project. A community could vote not to participate, and the others could vote to participate, and then that would move forward as that, you know, kind of partial regionalization that I mentioned prior to that. And then we could have send and receive relationships with the others. If we were to identify shared services, that's something that as boards we have the power to do ourselves. So that information, we could say, hey, look, you know what, the regionalization idea, that doesn't make any sense, but boy, oh boy, this transportation issue and this special services thing, if we could put together a unit to oversee those operations on behalf of the 5 districts, as boards of education, we would have the power to actually do that.
So thanks for that explanation. So is it the local boards that actually make the decision whether they want to take it to the voters, or is that something that is more automatic?
I don't believe that it's automatic. I can get you the specifics on that. I don't want to misspeak on it at this point in time.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
But I can do that, yes.
Just the question, I mean, again, thank you so much. Do you need anything from us this evening, or was this an informative?
No, sir. This was really just, we know how important an issue this is, so we are going to all the township committees, letting them know, and we know that there have been rumblings about this. There's certainly been media coverage about it. We wanted you to hear directly from us what we're doing, how we're doing it, what's involved, and so that if you do have any questions, you are free to contact me or your representatives here in Long Hill, and we will be happy to provide any information that you need. But this is just so that you know where we're heading, so that as this moves forward, there aren't any surprises as we move forward.
Personally, I want to thank you, and please pass our thanks along. I know there's someone here also from the board, but please thank them as well for bringing it to us and presenting.
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you. Very, very informative, very thought-provoking. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's see, we're moving along. We have the consent agenda. I believe, Guy, you have to abstain from 2292,
That is true.
and then 2286. We don't do anything on that, right, Jack?
No,
We take that off?
we're gonna do it at the
All
next
right,
meeting
so
as well.
2286 is removed from the agenda today.
No, I think we wanted to keep it on the agenda, and we'll just amend it at the next one as well
Oh,
for
if needed,
payroll
okay.
purposes, right, Nancy?
Yeah, that was what.
All right, that's fine. So, I have a motion to move the consent agenda. Or does anybody have any things they want to discuss on the consent agenda? I should ask that first. All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Madam Clerk.
Committeeman Lavender,
Yes.
Committeeman Ray,
Yes.
Committeeman Veleza,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paserchia,
Yes, I abstained from 22-092. Yes,
And-
otherwise.
thank you. Mayor Dorsey.
Yes. All right, liaison reports. Let's see, I'll start with Scott this week.
Okay. Recreation. All right, well, let's start with the lights at Canter Park on the tennis courts and the basketball courts became operational on Friday night. There's a little bit of cleanup that's being done in the area around there, but it's worth giving an explanation as to how these lights are going to work. There is a schedule that allows the lights to be turned on any night between sundown and 10 p.m. And there's a push button on the pole outside the perimeter of each of the courts. If that button is pushed between sundown and 10 p.m., the lights will go on for 1 hour. At the end of that hour, 5 minutes before that, there'll be an amber strobe light above the pole button that'll start to flash, so whoever's using the courts will understand that they're about to go off. If they want to use them for some more time, they press the button again, it stays on for another hour. In any event, the lights go off at 10 p.m. and they won't reset because the park is closed to all activity at 10 p.m. So I believe an explanation of this is on the recreation website, but this is really good. The lighting down there is good. It gives our residents some extra time at night to play, on the tennis courts and the basketball courts, and it saves some energy as well. So it's a big win-win. Next, we have some champions in town. 6th grade girls travel basketball team won their championship. Congratulations to them. They're coached by Joe Clark and Mike Sabatella. They had a great season. Megan, I don't know if you had a picture of them, but all right, you want to bring them up there? And there you go. I can't see it from here, but I'm sure it's great. Next, winter basketball programs for students are now complete. Adult basketball still runs until May 5th. And keep a lookout. There's going to be some outdoor basketball skill clinics coming up at Canter Park. That's to be announced. Red Cross first aid and CPR classes continue. Reminder, adult and pediatric first aid, March 30th, 6 p.m. to 9. Adult and pediatric CPR, April 21st, 6 to 9 p.m. More information on our website. The Uncover Peter Cottontail's Trail Through Long Hill Challenge continues. Open to children age 14 and under. Register by March 25th. You can see that on our website. Next, the annual egg hunt at Canter Park, April 9th, 10 a.m. And Peter Cottontail is going to be there, by the way, wearing the same tartan that Brendan has on. It's a very slick sports jacket.
Thank you very much.
It's actually McFarland is the tartan, yeah, so. Anyway, there's going to be a petting zoo and pony rides, sponsored by Choose Academy of Martial Art, Little People's Playhouse, and Ava's Homemade Ice Cream. And an adult egg hunt is going to be sponsored by the Long Hill Chamber of Commerce. I wonder what kind of egg hunt that is. And then lastly, the rec department is still accepting applications for summer positions. Online applications should be completed by April 1st, so the clock is ticking on that. And that's recreation.
Thank you. Vic?
All right. Police Liaison Report from March 23rd, 2022 is as follows. Self-initiated activity and calls for service year-to-date, 4,617. School activity year-to-date, 567. Motor vehicle stops year-to-date, 307. Community policing and proactive residential radar posts, 383. Arrest incidents year-to-date, 6. And actual subjects, both adult and juvenile, that were arrested is 7. Major incidents to report, none. Community policing, nothing new happening there. But we are pleased to report that the police department renovations have neared completion and officers have moved back into the building. Trailers are scheduled to be disassembled on March 24th and 25th. That's this Thursday and Friday. Trailers are scheduled to be removed Monday, March 28th, 2022. And I must say that I think the renovations look great. And thank you for Chief and for your department for dealing with the many inconveniences during that process. But hopefully it's all worth it now. And that concludes my report. Quick one.
Guy, you got anything?
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor. You normally forbid me from speaking, so.
Brendan?
Nothing for me.
All right, let's see. From the DPW, they're doing basin repairs, spring cleanup. And it's an announcement, if you shred paper, don't put it in the recycling. They can't collect that, right, Al? Is that the problem? Yeah, that came from the county, so if you shred paper, bring it down to the shredding event when the library or somebody else has it. I understand why people do it for security purposes, but for some reason the county can't process it. Mulch orders, the very popular mulch program starts next Friday, April 1st. So please call or email the DPW for your orders. When do deliveries start?
That Friday, so they can have their first delivery on the 1st of April.
Oh, okay, so you can have your first delivery on the 1st of April, but you can start ordering now?
Yeah.
Oh, you can start calling now or emailing now, so they'll start delivering on April 1st. And on April 2nd, next Saturday, the yard opens on Saturdays to what, about 12?
8 to 12.
8 to 12. So if you need to do any business down there or bring stuff down to the dump area, you come down and do it. Starts next Saturday. All right, next we move on to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a short report. I just wanted to announce that residents can now pay for their construction permits using credit cards online. So we have that up and running. Cross Hill Road, the curb work is done, and as soon as the asphalt companies open on April 1st, paving should happen soon after that. So that will be entirely complete for phase 1. And I just wanted to make residents aware that veteran banners can be applied for on our website until April 1st in order to be up for Memorial Day.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, let's see. Now move on to discussion items. Nancy, you want to talk about the people at home that don't know, about 2 weeks ago, one of the light poles at Myersville Field fell down into the parking lot. Luckily, nobody was there, but after looking at it, clearly the poles have been up about 35 years or so, and Scott was there, and they rotted out. So we looked into that today. So Nancy, give an update on what's going on over there.
Yes. So we asked our professionals to go out and take a look at the remaining poles because there was a concern that the poles that are remaining would be compromised just like the one that fell and pose a possible danger to anybody playing on the field. it's not clear how much longer they, what their useful life is, but it's certainly not a risk that anybody wants to take. So the recommendation is that all the poles be taken down. There are 2 that are currently leaning. The pole that fell was rotted at the bottom, underground. The underground portion, except for the middle core, was rotted. So presumably, the others are on their way. So while it seems like a drastic step, I don't think anybody is willing to take the chance that they, will not fall down. So we'd like to recommend that we take all the poles down. The DPW has indicated that they're able to do it once the weather dries up. And whether or not we obviously couldn't get permanent lights in by April. So whether or not you want to have temporary lighting would be a matter for discussion. It's not the ideal situation. I don't think that they make temporary lights high enough for baseball. And then there's the other aspect that they would have to be either hooked up to our electric, which we don't even know if it's possible, or run on used generators, which is not an ideal situation either, because you'd have to have, say, 5 lights run on generators that coaches would have to turn on, that'd be left out there all the time. So the alternative is that we go this season without lighting that field at night. But the only thing, I guess I'm asking 2 things now. Number 1, do you agree that we should take the lights down that are there? And number 2, are you willing to let the field, not put temporary lights up there and let it stay dark for the season?
Well, first things for Al, you guys, how fast not fast, I don't need it done right this second, but can you get those light poles down the next couple of weeks, assuming it's dry?
Yeah.
Your issue's what? Bringing the equipment back there, not ripping up everything?
Well, first getting the electric taken off the pole and then, not get stuff.
All right, so does anybody have any objection to removing the existing poles now?
No, I think it should be done. We don't want to throw good money after bad. The pole that fell down, I've been told, was one of the drier poles out of the ones that were there. There's no way we can salvage it. The lights weren't bright enough to begin with. And so I think we need to, take those poles down as quickly as possible so at least we can have day games there for the immediate future.
Any objection to removing the poles then? All right, and obviously put it on your to-do list, your multi-page to-do list. Thank you, Al. And next issue's with the lights, right?
Right, temporary lights. Like I said, I don't believe that they make them big enough to be used for baseball, tall enough.
Yeah, I think it'd be tall
Yeah,
enough.
I don't think you're going to get temporary lights that are the sufficient lumens even for softball as well, and you create a liability situation if it's too dark. I think we need to investigate what it would take to put metal poles in there with lights, if we can figure that out.
We do have a quote. It's a year old. It was at last March actually. The quote that we got was $325,000 to $350,000 to light that field with LED lights. We asked for an update on that quote because it's a year old and chances are there might be an increase in that. We're also going to get additional quotes just to give comparison.
Do they have non-LED lights that are cheaper?
Halogen, I think is what the lights are that are there now. I think that's what they're called. They have been phased out, and so I think LED is the only thing that.
The LEDs are cheaper to run, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't get to change as much either.
I mean, at the very least, we should look at this and see what our options are there. Half of the games played in that field, they're played at night. And
half of the use, whether it's
yeah.
practice or games.
And it's more than just the Little League that's down there. We've got, other organizations that play as well. At least we should see what, what's possible.
Oh, absolutely. No problem getting bids.
And maybe, Scott, you can meet with our rec director, Lisa Scanlon, who I believe has left. If we're going to do this, let's look at the facility holistically.
Yes.
We know that there are issues parking there and always have been. I don't know if we would need to reconfigure things, add something, remove something. So, you know, not tonight, but maybe you could sit down with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's an important part of the infrastructure in terms of recreation here, and not just for our residents. And, you know, it gets a lot of usage, but also for tournaments, bringing people in from out of town. It generates more than just the rental fees there. I mean, the people come in for these tournaments, they go to, you know, whatever restaurants and supermarket and stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's long overdue that we look at cleaning that up.
And I think that this will be part of the it will be part of the budget, at least the capital discussion that you're going to be having in the next few weeks.
And I have a question for our counsel, Jack Pigeon. Is an upgrade, whether it's lights or paving, is that eligible for open space recreation?
Yes, because I think those are capital improvements as opposed to maintenance.
Okay. So that's food for thought for the committee.
I think you said, Nancy, earlier, that even if we said yes, put new lights on, we're talking 12 weeks minimum, even if we started today,
Oh, it's
right?
more than that.
More than that, so.
It's 12 weeks just to get the materials.
Yeah, so this thing, even if we said do it today, for the summer season, spring, you can't, we're not gonna have lights there regardless.
No, we'd be done.
All right.
Do we
So
have
the-
facilities where we can make up for that shortfall? Or for the shortfall in the games and the practices? Are there other facilities that in the town that we can shift things around?
Well,
or-
the league will make arrangements with some of the neighboring towns for some of the tournaments and stuff like that, and they play games with Warren and stuff, so I'm sure they'll figure out a way around. They're going to have to figure out a way around this right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was the question. I mean, there's going to be a big hole, so is there the ability to do it? That was the question.
Right. And the other option there could be for some of the, and I'm not giving them advice, but maybe schedule some of their games to start earlier so that they end by sundown.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, let's talk about the radio for police.
Oh, you have an update? That's someday, I don't know.
Yeah, so the chief and I talked today, and I'm sure he can add
All right, go
details
ahead.
to it.
Yeah, that'd be good, that'd be helpful.
You know, the trial period for Tango, you know, keeps going. And, you know, I understand that the chief can certainly talk about this. It seems to be going extremely well. You know, my request would be maybe to Jack, we should probably start looking, coming out of the back end of this trial, you know, talking to county as to how do we need to amend the contract to account for that, because if they're going to be paying for the interface into Tango, or are they going to be assuming some of the other charges? No, they're not a lot, but we need to kind of nail down what those are so we can kind of just move seamlessly forward. Because right now, it looks like it's, so, I mean, Chief, do you have anything you want to add to it?
So, as Committeeman Lavender stated, we spoke earlier today, gave an update on our Tango situation. It has been functional in building coverage, which was something that we didn't know we were going to have, even with the improvement of the tower situation. So there is going to be a discussion that will probably be had with the council and potentially Jack Pigeon regarding how do we move forward, how do we secure that in the contract. I talked briefly with Mike Peoples regarding that. Right now, they had, you know, initiated the communication with Tango, set up their equipment up at the county, but there is going to be some additional costs if we're going to equip every officer with a similar setup that I have on tonight. It would, because they are wireless devices, we would have to add additional units onto our Verizon account. Now, how that's going to be funded or who's going to fund that, it's probably going to come up by way of contract negotiations, but so the actual cost per Tango license is around $75 or so per year.
That's per unit, right?
Per unit,
Okay.
right. And I think, in speaking to some of the other first responders and additionally DPW Director Al Gallo, he's showing an interest in joining the group of Tango for communication between him and his foreman. So I think townwide probably be a you know, a good decision to bring Tango for fire, EMS, and police, but that's gonna require some work with the county to see if they're willing to cooperate across all platforms.
And the county's on board with, at least so far the county's happy with the way this has been. I know you guys are, but the county's happy with it too?
I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it gets rid of some of the headaches with the in-building coverage, so, so far they've been tested in all the schools with, proper transmission.
And were you able to, I know you said you ordered them there on back order for the tack mics like you have on now.
We found a vendor out in California. They had them to us in 2 days.
Okay, so
We're just,
all
yep. So we have a good contact for that product. We also ordered some pouches, some holsters for their carriers. So once that's all set up, it's going to function pretty much as a portable radio.
Do you still need the other radios anymore if you have that?
So I think for redundancy and just as a backup, we talked about the potential of Tango going down. It is an app. So if there is any kind of bugs or any fixes along the way, in the event that it goes down, we can still go to our in-car radios or portable. So we'll have them accessible. They're probably not going to carry.
Oh, okay, all right, that's the next one. Thank you, Chief.
Yep, yes, sir.
I just want to thank the chief and your department, and special thanks to Scott, because I know you put a lot of work into this as well. So that's great news. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Got anything else on that, Scott? You good?
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, where are we now? We have to go back. I think we still didn't finish discussing the sign issue with the welcome signs. Obviously, we resolved what we're going to do short term, but what's the long-term goal with these things as to how many signs, how many, I guess, business could be on signs? So right now, we have plenty of signs. We have more businesses in town interested in putting their business up on these welcome signs. So what do we have, Nancy, how many right now are all, counting the first responders and the Chamber of Commerce one, are all the signs, welcome signs, have at least one thing underneath it?
Yes,
Okay.
How many signs are there?
there are,
Welcome signs, you mean?
Welcome signs, correct.
6 or 7, I think.
No, there's more
there
than
are
that.
8 or 10. There are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, out to 8 welcome signs.
There's 10.
10.
Yeah.
Ooh. Say 8 to 10.
There's 10. I have the locations right here.
I think there are 10.
So we have 10, and you said, okay, so 6 of them have local businesses on them right now, correct?
Correct.
3 are first responders, 1 is the Chamber of Commerce, just generic sign.
Correct.
So 6 of the 10, and you said you have, what, 3 other people that approached you or came to town hall and said, hey, we want to put our business on them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I spoke to, I was copied on emails between the Chamber of Commerce and Nancy. They really have no, they can't object to it, really. They can object to it, but they really didn't. But the purpose of the signs all along was to promote local businesses. So I have no problem with taking the Chamber of Commerce sign down, because it's a holding spot, and offering it to one of the businesses that came to Nancy on a first come, first served. Now, we also had, I believe Nancy found an email at some point in time which confirmed what we talked about the other day, because I remember being a part of conversations, I think as a member of the chamber about these, but you found an email that went from...
Right. I actually didn't even remember this happened in 2018. The Promotion and Enhancement Committee, which is the precursor to the Beautification Committee, somebody who is on that committee brought up the idea about, putting names on the vacant signs, and it said that they would stay up if we can't get sponsors instead of having nothing there. And that happened in the spring of 2018. So I contacted the chamber, as you mentioned, and they don't have a structure right now. They're kind of in flux as far as what their leadership is. But they did say, is the governing body willing to wait 2 to 3 weeks for us to reorganize and then take a vote whether or not we're going to buy our own sign? And so that is one question for you. Do you want to just let their sign stay in place until they have their reorg meeting and make a decision whether or not they're going to pay for their own sign? I mean, it's your call, but it's been up there for 4 years, so another 3 weeks probably doesn't matter. But then the bigger question is, the people that I did get, do I just turn them away, or are you willing to look at putting at least 2 signs on each sign. 2 sponsors on each sign.
So that's the question I guess we have before us. Is do you mind having 2 sponsors on one sign? I don't have an issue with it. I don't want to go 3 or 4. I mean, Vic, what do you think?
No, I don't have an issue with 2. And again, if 3 fits, I don't know if we have necessarily the need, but
Probably not, but you never know.
Yeah, like I said, people want to pay. I'm not going to make it so there's 10,000 of them on there, but
maybe 3?
yeah, I would say 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
No more than 3, but I don't think there's going to be a need for 3. But I don't have an issue with that. Diane?
Well, I just want to be clear. So there were 10, 4 of them, one's the chamber, and
3
we
are
have
first
Sterling,
responders.
and the 3, Millington Fire Company, Sterling Fire Company, and the First Aid Squad,
they're so
which
low.
currently don't pay, which I'm fine with.
Well, but we had a resident who
Yes,
paid for them
so they're
for
paid
this
it
year.
now. 3 of them are.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I was probably speaking with Brendan. And the chamber, I'm perfectly fine letting it stay up, whether they pay or not. They pay for a lot in this town. A lot of these, the parades, the fair, and stuff like that. So I don't know if the chamber has the money to buy their own sign. If they don't, I'm perfectly willing to let them keep it.
And then, all right, Brendan, Scott, anything?
I'm fine.
I said enough last week on it.
Me, do you have anything you want to say? Yeah, of course. Actually, we got lucky enough because his daughter was here for the Girl Scouts. The director of the Beautification Committee, Mr. Briggs.
Hey, good evening. So the Beautification Committee's primary source of funds is the signage, right? 2 years ago, the committee gave $10,000 because we had delinquencies in the signs for however many years, and there was no money in there to do our work. So, you know, it's great that somebody came up and said, I didn't see the last meeting, so I understand there were some issues. But I think it's important to know that that's where the beautification money comes from for the little projects that we're doing around town. And the idea was not to be hitting the budget of the town for that, but to enhance the community through that signage. One idea may be to consolidate all the services onto one sign and have that be sponsored by an individual and then after 3 years that person doesn't want to do it, then you can actually find somebody else to sponsor, what have you. But I think it's important that the reason these things are put out there is adhered to, right? And that I think businesses, we know we have 3 people who stepped up right away to do it. And I think that, you know, the chamber, being the chamber sponsoring businesses, should be able to secede to somebody who's actually willing to put their business up there. So I just want people to understand that that is where we get our funds from, and we didn't want to be a burden to the town.
Thank you, Nate.
Okay.
If I could say something,
Yeah.
Whenever the Beautification Committee was initially proposed, it was given the initial budget from the town of $10,000, right? Because we thought it was something that was badly needed within the town.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding of it was that the Beautification Committee meets, and they bring forward ideas to the committee. And it's not that we're trying to ring fence you with go out and find money to do these things. It was more if these projects, whether they be large or small, you come to us and we feel that, yeah, this is a year that we can do it, or we can push that off to the next budget cycle. That was what we would do. We would be funding these programs. That was my understanding of the Beautification Committee. And so, because to give you however much you're getting from these signs really isn't giving you very much whenever you think about some of the some of the things that you might want to consider. You're thinking small scale, and for me, the Beautification Committee was citizens thinking and coming and giving us and giving us ideas, and so it wasn't necessarily citizens give us ideas and go find money for it. That really wasn't it. So it was kind of news to me actually that we were suddenly kind of pigeonholing you with this amount of money for that you had to kind of raise on your own, because I think that, you know, the idea behind the Beautification Committee should be that you come to us with ideas that we then decide, is this the year, are they good, are they bad? Is this a year we can fund them, or is it another year? And so that was you mentioned the issues from last meeting. That was certainly from my perspective, that was the issue. That was one of the issues. And so the other thing, I'm not going to get into it again. I said enough last week about it, about my feelings on the signage. It actually ended up, thanks to the generosity of a resident, that it was kind of put to bed. But I just want to make it clear that as far as the Beautifications Committee is concerned, I'm all for it, and I'm all for you having a proper budget to do what you want to do.
Okay, and I'll just two pieces of clarification. One is the Preservation Enhancement Committee, which was the predecessor of beautification. That was the charter, was the funding would come from there. There's no, and as far as my understanding and the information I have, that was the only source. There was no going to the committee. And then part two to that is the number of our projects are small, right? Flowers in front of the flagpole, wildflowers, community day, things like that wouldn't necessarily go in front of the committee for funding or be part of the budget process. The idea was to be able to make quick hits and take care of business and move on. And that was sort of I'll say the slush fund or the sign fund was for. And that's why we didn't have anything 2 years ago, because we didn't have any money in the budget, was where the 10,000 came from. It wasn't our understanding that that was an annual refill, right? And I do understand the think big with parks and things. So that's definitely an idea and definitely things we're considering. But the idea of the quick hits to take care of business where we're not going into other budget fields was the idea behind that, my understanding.
So Nancy, can I ask a question? If I did the math correctly, it's $500 per sign per year. There are 10 signs, $5,000 per year is what, if they were all rented, would generate.
Correct.
I would propose, I mean, we're coming into budget season anyway, I would propose, and you didn't say this, Meade, and it's certainly not a burden to the town. What you're doing is important work, and it's a benefit to the town. It's not a burden. I would propose, as we go through the budget process, we fund it annually. So it's not a question of whether there's $5,000 coming from these signs. I think, propose a budget that you think is appropriate to do these little projects. It could be open space. I mean, no, that's okay.
Is this something you're okay doing? By the way, are you okay with that suggestion?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was X, so if it's X plus Y, that's fine. If there's extra money in the budget, next year we don't have to come back for it. It's, it all depends on what pops up.
Whenever we talked about the Beautification Committee 2 years ago, whenever we decided on it, it's news to me that you haven't been funded, right? Because there was $10,000 in that initial budget, and I thought that was a recurring budget line for you.
Okay.
So it's news to me that we didn't budget it.
It was just 1 year. It was last year. It was just like a start off because the promotion and enhancement committee had been inactive for several years.
Yeah.
So there was no, and we'd used that money for the money in their budget. We used it for veteran banners, so there was nothing left. So that was just like here's 10,000 to get you going. And then the funding went back to what was the promotion enhancement committee, which is from these signs. But if you're gonna change it where you're gonna fund them separately, I'm gonna request that you start that next budget year, because we're just about finalizing this budget, and they already have, I guess, as a committee, already have 16,000 in there
Yeah, because the
right now.
rentals that are now, or the sponsorships that have paid
Right.
this year.
There's a bulk from the 10,000 initial startup funds, plus we're bringing this money. So, I mean, I think we're fine for this year with that budget, so that's why we didn't request anything. And again, our understanding was the funding was coming from the signs. So if you do choose to make that change,
Sure.
then maybe next year.
And I think I speak for the committee. We don't want you to come here to ask for, $300 to plant
I don't want
flowers.
to
So it's win-win. We don't
Yes,
we don't have
exactly.
to see
me,
you.
I don't see you. Yeah.
No, but as I say, $10,000. I thought it was news to me that you weren't I thought that was a recurring amount of money. And as I say, it was the other projects, the bigger projects that people would come forward and you would come forward.
Yeah,
you would propose.
and Scott's and Vic are our liaison, so if there's something that is larger and bigger than scope or is part of rec or something, that would be all part
For
of our
example, the
discussion.
tree screen that you proposed,
Right.
and which I believe has now been completed.
Active, and we're talking about doing the next level down on Canter with the bushes replacing the next tier. So there's other things in the works, and if it's bigger than our budget or would kill us for the year, then that would be something we come back for. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Lovely
Mead.
to have
Thank
you
you.
here. All right. So I guess we can wait for the chamber, correct?
Well,
Like,
what
we
did
could
you
put
decide?
two-
I mean,
We could put 2 on each, it doesn't matter then. But we have to find out what the chamber wants to do, if they want to purchase
Right.
that thing or.
right, so can we just wait until they reorganize and then they can decide if they want to fund it or not?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, and then,
As
what
to
is
the
your determination about more than one sponsor on a
Put 2
sign?
on it. We could put 2, I don't think anybody objects to that, do we?
Nope.
Any objection to putting 2 on they're paying customers?
On the paying customer signs?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell those other 3 people, other 3 businesses that, yeah, it's more than happy to have them.
Okay,
Another
Right.
thing for Al to do.
thank you.
To-do list.
All right, any other old or new business? All right, we'll get the announcements. Saturday, quickly approaching, Sterling Firehouse Venison Dinner. It's Saturday, doors open at 6. There are tickets available. See a firefighter or check out their website or Facebook page. The price includes beer and wine and all you can eat venison, and as I said, it's excellent. They prepare it in 7 or 8 different ways? Exactly. At Sterling Street Fair, Saturday, April 24th, 10 a.m. And what will Dennis guarantee? Guy?
Perfect weather.
There you go. The Egg Hunt, April 9th. Scavenger Hunt, April 8th through 16th. Check the Rec Center webpage. I was told there is a shredding day at the library on April 30th, which will dovetail into what I said earlier about shredded paper. So if you want something shredded, bring it down there. It's a good fundraiser for the library, and it gets rid of sensitive documents. Then, as I said, you can order mulch from the DPW starting this week, and they start deliveries. But more importantly, the Boy Scouts are selling mulch. It's $4.50 a bag. It's a very lucrative fundraiser for them, and they're like an ant colony. You order it, they will bring it to your house and put it wherever you want. Put it anywhere you want. They're not going to spread it, but they'll stack it anywhere. They're efficient. So please check out the Troop 56 website. Troop 56 website online to place your order, and I tell you, it's good quality because I only have to do it every 2 years. It doesn't fade. It stays. It's good stuff. So thank you. Any other announcements?
Just a couple, Mayor, if you
ahead.
didn't say it. I believe April 16th, I'm looking out there. Chief, maybe you can confirm this. April 16th is the 28th Annual PBA Fishing Derby. Does that sound right?
Can you check on it sounds like they've been doing a lot more than 28 times. Did Gary check on that for somebody? Yeah, I think so.
But it is April 16th, April 16th, early in the morning. Get there early because Brendan likes to get the best spot and push out the little 5-year-olds, so. And May 7th, I know it's in advance, is the Elks Townwide Garage Sale. That's correct.
Right. You can't even read your own writing.
And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Any other announcements? All right, let's see where okay. Meeting open to the public. Any from the public has any questions, comments, concerns? Feel free to come up. I have the 3-minute timers out, so come on up, whoever wants to come up. No, we found it in the drawer.
I'm also gonna put my phone on.
All right. I
thought you were going to get me a clock for on the wall so I could see.
No,
Good evening, Frank Liberato, 589 Heritage Road. Councilman Lavender, thank you very much for the update. I appreciate you talking to Mr. Pigeon. I think it's great. You start a dialogue with the contract, incorporate the changes, and I would also like to see them make sure they incorporate a commitment on some kind of timetable with the Wagner Farm Tower, because I think even with this app, that redundancy is important. Because the concern I would have with the app is just like every kind of technological device, if there's an outage and it goes down, the app itself, I'm not saying the cell service, we're going to need that radio system to bridge that gap, even if it doesn't work in a building per se, but at least have what we had, and I wouldn't want to get caught with that. Do we know the stats from Tango Tango and what their average outage time is a year and what their tech support is as far as getting back up and running? Is that something anybody knows?
No, I don't think we know that.
Because I think it might be something just to find out, you know, what the percentage is so that we know what we're looking into.
Yeah, my suspicion is that it's probably not any more than, outage on cellular service, right?
Yeah, I would guess, unless something fails in the app, like, with anything, if there's an actual, something gets hacked or something.
No, you're
like
thinking the way I'm thinking too. Like,
Yeah.
is there a server outage? What cloud do they run in? Is there some
Correct.
sort of downtime?
Yeah.
And there's no intention of getting rid of the radio specifically for that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the county, incorporates that in that contract so
Yeah.
that there's no gap there. And I would just be concerned also what there's technical support availability is. Is there 24/7 technical support?
There is actually.
There is? Perfect. That's great. The other thing I wanted to discuss was, I know we had talked about it a couple of times, and just wanted to see what everybody's feeling is as far as, I appreciate everybody moving Tango Tango forward, and I think, we've solved some really good issues here. But I still would like to just discuss the thought process of finding out what the cost would still be if we were to consider bringing the dispatching back here and incorporated with this, because seeming like the amount of money that you'll save with Tango Tango doesn't seem like the infrastructure's as huge as what we were thinking. And I think from a community policing standpoint and from having ties to the residents, I think it's something that should be explored. Obviously, if it's a very, very high number, then I can understand that, but I don't think any of us have an idea of what it would cost to have that dispatch capability where, you're cutting some of that time down, because I don't know if anybody knows what the real timetable is from the call taker at the county by the time it gets to the dispatcher out to the car. And having known how the old way was, I would like to just see that, because we don't have someone in the police building 24/7 like you used to have with a dispatcher. So obviously if you go to the building, any of the buildings that go to the county, you push a call box to reach somebody. And I remember when I worked the desk, you'd have people walk from Sterling train station up to the police station, or somebody would pull in the middle of the night, they were lost or something, and there's not always somebody there now, where before, we always had somebody at the front desk. So if there was an emergency or something, you could come in, there's a person there. And I think that in our community, I think that's something we should really think about. I know we're trying to be conscious with money, and I appreciate all of that, but I think for the town that we have and the history that it had, I think it's just something we should explore, have someone look into it, and get back with some numbers, and then say, hey, look, Frank, you know what, it's going to be this, or it's going to be that. We can make it work or we can't, but I think it just at least should be explored, because I think if you talk to more residents, and I've talked to quite a few, they kind of feel sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect in that respect. When you're calling up there, you're getting somebody who is not necessarily super familiar. And I know in the past there have been issues where, things haven't gone smoothly or, necessarily dispatched as best as we would like. And I know maybe this is one way to sharpen that up a little bit. And maybe the cost is not as big, because I've talked to departments that still do in-house, and they've kind of bucked the trend. And it's on a case-by-case basis. It's not for every town. But I think the way our town is and how we really have a good relationship with the police department and the community, I think it's definitely something to explore. And I'm not saying you got to go and hire 20 dispatchers, but if you had enough, the officers could always cover like they used to, and you're still working in between if somebody's out. And I don't know the cost is going to be. I don't know what the cost is going to be, and I just think it's something that, in good conscience, we should look into. So you could either say yay or nay and table it, but at least we crossed that bridge.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this. Mr. Mayor, if I could just say one thing. I wanted to put the context of that conversation that took place back in 2011, which led to the decision to go to the county. That was not a decision that was made by the Township Committee. It was done cooperatively with each of the emergency services and the then police chief. The decision to move from Bernard's Township, the shared service with Bernard's Township, to the county was discussed by then Chief Remington, I believe from the Sterling Fire Company, I believe Chief Gene Starr, Captain English, the then police chief, which I presume was Chief Hedden, and the Township Committee. So the decision to move to the county was not in any way done singularly by the Township Committee. It was done as a group. And Bernard's Township, to point, is now with Somerset County Dispatch. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea what you're suggesting. We should look at it. But I want to make sure we understand, and the residents of Long Hill Township understand, that was done cooperatively.
I fully appreciate that, but at the end of the day, the final decision comes at the council. And that's a choice where if you have all the facts or don't. And I wasn't there, so I don't know what the test results were at the time on what the performance of the radio system was. But clearly in the initial contract, with that clause in there, it clearly stated that there were geographical limits. Everyone at that time had to know going into it there were going to be issues. And the ability to negate those issues became problematic.
That is absolutely true.
You know, and that's not something you can anticipate.
The understanding with the county at that point was that they would address those issues as expeditiously as they could. The fact that here we are 10 years later discussing
that's the concern.
The word expeditiously.
Right, and that's the concern about the process is, yes, I agree it was cooperative. I was not there. I don't know what each department had, said, and I don't have a copy of the results to see what the testing results were at the time, or who did the testing, or how it was done, or how we arrived at it. But at the end of the day, the council is the final decision. So I hope, going forward, we have processes in place, like Scott has always referenced, that, you can get all those.
I don't disagree with you, by the way. I just wanted to make sure that people understood that this wasn't a decision that was taken.
No, and listen,
blindly.
I'm not here to point fingers at anybody.
I know
or
you're not.
anything. I'm just here because I want to make sure our first responders are safe, our community is safe, and we can all sleep well at night knowing we've done everything we can to work. And like Scott said, they're working on it. Mr. Pigeon's going to work on it. And this time, Mr. Pigeon will be in the loop on the contract. So this way, we ensure those clauses are in there to protect all of us. And that's really all I'm looking for.
And then we move into continuous improvement with some of the suggestions you make. Right, because the continuous improvement also comes with change management. And change management comes with how people learn how to use a new system, and we just keep moving forward. I'm with you.
And the other thought, the last party note I'll give you, because I know I'm over my time, and Mr. Dorsey's going to throw me off the stage here. But I would say it would be great even to visit other departments that do the dispatch in-house. It won't cost anything, to go. I can give you names some departments that I know of.
Please do, actually.
And I would be willing to even help out and donate my time. I know a lot of people, so, all of you know where to find me.
Very good.
I'm more than happy to assist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I've made this suggestion before, but I definitely agree with Frank that we should at least do it, right? I know of at least one department who seems to run a pretty tight dispatch center, and my suggestion would be that we form a subcommittee of the Township Committee, work with the chief, work with whoever we need to work with Frank, whoever we need to work with, but actually kind of chase this idea down once and for all, because it has surfaced over the years, and I think it's definitely worthwhile. We can either think it's say it's viable, or we can put it to bed depending on the cost that comes with it. So I know I'm certainly willing to serve on that subcommittee.
Yeah, I don't think there's any downside, and Frank was kind enough to volunteer his time to sit on that committee, so maybe you can come up with how many members you think should be on that subcommittee and who they might be.
Yeah, if there's agreement with the committee, I'm certainly willing to do that.
I don't care.
I'll help you. I'll help you. I know you're looking at me.
Yes. Any conversation with me usually ends up with somebody else with an assignment, not me. So I think Scott volunteered, Brendan volunteered, Frank volunteered. There you go.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Anybody else from the public? Oh, Lauren, you want to come up? Too slow.
Good evening, Charles Serrano with Millington. Since we approved tonight under the consent agenda, salaries for the Long Hill Township employees not covered by a union contract, with increases that's hard to determine because the current salary isn't on the consent agenda, but from my best estimate, the ranges range from 2.5% to 4%. And given the fact that a significant amount of time in the last 2 years by these employees working from home, I recommend a cultural change to how the residents and taxpayers are treated by the employees and the contracted professionals of this township. I recommend the current service culture that the police department has and the DPW have adopted, whereby the residents and taxpayers are the first priority, be adopted by the employees and contracted professionals of this town. Realizing there are line reporting relationships with the Township Committee, the town administrator, and the department heads. That being said, the primary role is servicing the residents and taxpayers of this town. The culture change is recommended for immediate change and implementation whereby the residents and taxpayers come first. For example, I'll give you 2 examples. When someone generates an Oprah request in this township, the response is, you've got 7 days now for us to respond to you. I've gotten requests on the 7th business day at 4:30 p.m. How about this response for putting the township residents and taxpayers first? Mr. Taxpayer, I know you're very interested in the police communications contract and are concerned, but we must respond in 7 business days, by 7 business days to your Oprah requests. But we as a township will do everything in our power to exceed these expectations and respond in 6 or fewer days to exceed expectations and provide excellent service to the taxpayers and residents. Another example. A resident submitted an Oprah request to an adjacent township, okay? They got the request back in under 24 hours. I think that's pretty responsive and putting the residents and the taxpayers first. The same request was made of this township. Guess what? It took 7 days, 7 business days. I hope you act upon my recommendation and we start putting the taxpayers and the residents first. Thank you for your time and looking for a responsive municipal staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Franklin. I live at 24 Leprechaun Drive in Millington. I was here to comment about the Myersville Field. I'm really glad you're attending to it and taking down the poles and making it playable. The sooner the better, because people, the town can go to other fields when you're in the rec, but if you're playing for an outside organization, we've been displaced to South Plainfield, which is quite a drive. So the sooner we could get that up and running, that would be great for all the organizations that are using it, that have found how to find fields elsewhere at this point in the year. Going forward, I'm glad you're looking at the lights. It is a big project. And if we are going to beautify Myersville Field going forward, and that's something that we are looking into doing and allocating some funds maybe that we have in reserve or something to do that, could we reserve to put a bathroom in there? That would be a wonderful thing if we're going to pave and do something to be able to put a bathroom. There is no bathroom there. It is a horrible field in that sense to have a long day, a tournament, a doubleheader.
I think we've looked into
I
that.
usually run down to Deer Path to go to the bathroom when I'm there.
Shortage on there, I think, right?
Not everybody has that luxury.
Not everyone does. Like, but you know, so if that's something moving going forward, you know.
I think Matt just whispered in my ear, and the chief could probably confirm this. We cannot run a line there, so it would have to be a septic. Does that sound right? So it would be an expensive project.
Waiting the place to put the septic tank. I don't know if there's anyone to put it.
Well, the good news is the telephone pole just missed the porta john.
Yeah.
That's the good news.
I have a quick question. Would there be a time that we would be able to connect there, Chief Callow?
I think that's up to American Water.
Right, I was just going
But
to
at
say.
some point, we
work with-
probably
Yep.
could.
There's a sewage pumping station right there.
Across the street.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't think having a bathroom, a facility that eventually, in the near future, not necessarily this year, next year, but 3 years from now or 4 years from now, should be realistic, because there's a timetable involved here.
It would be sooner, actually. I mean,
If something you could look at going forward, that would be great, something to put in a plan.
point.
If there is a master plan.
NJ American Water is required to sewer. We're at 88% of the town. They are required by contract by October of 2025 to sewer an additional 7% of the town. It's possible. One of
Run it
those
right
areas
down
would be
Myersville
Myersville.
Road.
That's exactly right. There are dry lines up there, as you well know.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And if they were to move in that direction, I'm quite sure they can do that at that area. So that's a great idea, and I
But
think-
would we have to wait for the lights to get back for the whole project to be done?
Say that again?
Is the lights
Oh,
going to
no,
be
no,
separate?
no. Completely separate.
It's completely separate?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
All right, so the lights will be sooner. Great. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lauren.
Any other members of the public have any questions, comments, concerns? Madam Clerk, anybody from cyberspace?
If anybody on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to exec session with no further action in public.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.